Fresh from the showcase here at SwissWatchExpo, we're debuting the new versions of watches from Audemars Piguet. Now, you're familiar with the Royal Oak series, which is the watch here on my right. In this case, it comes in the pink gold with the silver dial. Beautiful watch. Pretty much everybody knows what these are. If you know Audemars Piguet, you know this watch. This is probably something you're really after. They've got multiple variations of it, but what are lesser known in the watch of the AP lineup is called the Millenary. The Millenary is a watch made for unisex style. Now, we list this watch that I'm holding in my hand as being a lady's piece. It is not necessarily a lady's piece. The Millenary was developed with sort of a non-sexual stereotype in mind because the shape of the style, the oval, or if you turn it upside down, looks like an egg. And this particular style hails back to, believe it or not, the 1500s. In the 1500s, when watches were not known at that time as what we know them today, they were clocks that were becoming smaller and smaller and sort of having an evolution to size down to be worn every day. Now, the very first versions of these watches, when they were in the egg-shaped style, were either hung from a chain around your neck or hung from something from your waist. And ladies wore them as well as men. Now, one of the interesting things about how these watches were made was the offset dials within the complication set. So in multiple styles, you had just the regular watch, and then you had some watches, believe it or not, in the 1500s that had alarm systems and even calendars. And if you can think about what mechanical prowess that had to take on at that time in the 1500s and the technological prowess that had to be developed for each one of these pieces, you can begin to imagine that these watches were ultra expensive. One of the fun things about what Audemars Piguet did in the 1920s is they went back to these styles, and this was actually dubbed the Nuremberg egg because the Nuremberg egg was the actual style of the watch from the 1500s. And Audemars started tinkering around in the 1920s with this particular style. And much like Audemars Piguet does in so many different ways, they made very small one-type knockoffs. And so they would make one for one person and then make one for another. And each one had a different variation. And ultimately, there were probably only about 20 or 30 made total. What's interesting about those watches are the movement styles, because early on in the 1500s, the movement was round inside the more oval shape, and the oval shape was just sort of a design feature more than it was something that was necessary. So Audemars Piguet took that style and they actually made an egg-shaped movement for the watches in the 1920s. Later on in the 1950s, they redeveloped the oval shape. However, it wasn't as dramatic as it is in the Millenary. In 1995, they reintroduced the Millenary style into their lineup, and it has stayed there ever since. However, it has evolved. Some of the more intricate details about this watch include the amazing case back. When you see through the back of this watch, you see some extraordinary handcrafting. That is very typical of Audemars Piguet. Audemars Piguet usually does a lot of dramatic styling and small subtle hints that you have to look for. So when you look at this watch, you want to look at the double-edged the lugs on this watch. And then you want to look at the crown and the cabochon jewel in the end of it, because they use various different colors, and depending on the dial set for these watches, the crown color can change. Now, what's even more interesting is the dramatic style of the dial. You get in this one the sort of the Roman numeral-esque look. However, it's exaggerated throughout the entire style of the circular dial inside that oval shape. Now, I would actually try this watch on. I wanted to show you all. I have a larger wrist, although I'm wearing the Audemars Piguet Extra Thin, which is an automatic watch. This is actually the Jules Audemars. This is a very thin watch. It's very simple in sort of the era of the Audemars Piguet. That's what Audemars Piguet is known for, is making extraordinarily thin dials, thin movements. And so when you look at this watch and all of the internals, you start to see that all of the little details are very, very thin and very, very small, but the watch has a fairly large presence on your wrist. Now, what I want to do is actually hold this watch up to the Jules that I have on here on my left wrist. And you can see that even though this is sort of thought of as a ladies' piece, it's actually not. There is a men's, what they consider a men's piece. The men's piece is an automatic, whereas this ladies' piece is a manual wind. Don't be scared off by that. These are generational watches. These should not be considered feminine pieces in the least. As long as they fit your wrist, they will look fine, because the men's piece is not differentiating from the ladies' piece other than the physical size. The shape and everything else about them is exactly the same, all the way down to some of them have an opalescent dial, some of them in this case have the mother of pearl, some of them have the diamond outline, and some of them don't. So there's not really much difference between the two other than how you wear them and how they look on your wrist. Now, speaking of the Nuremberg egg and the design function of this particular watch, their Breguet actually is the egg style. And we have this watch in our inventory as well. Now, you may realize that Breguet was the watchmaker that originally made the wristwatch. They're pretty well known for being the first wristwatch ever created. However, it was Marie Antoinette who ordered the watch and never lived to see the actual completed piece, because the completed piece took over 15 years to complete and get the design correct. Later on, another queen actually had this piece commissioned in this egg shape as a throwback to that era. Same thing as the AP, and that's how we wound up with the Breguet, what was known as the Breguet egg. This watch is absolutely gorgeous. We are getting a lot of pieces here at SwissWatchExpo that have very significant history, that are just gorgeous pieces. They have an excellent value story. From the price over the new piece, these are all pre-owned pieces. Now, they may not come with the original box, the original paperwork, or the warranty card. Don't worry about that. These things usually don't survive anyway, because in many cases, other than this particular box for the Royal Oak, this happens to be a wood box, but many of these boxes are not really like this. They're more elongated, they're made out of cardboard, they're throwaway pieces anyway, they're not things that you would normally keep. So the box is not what you buy the watch for. The watch is the focus piece. We don't want you to think that you can authenticate a watch in any other manner using the box, the paperwork, or these kinds of things. It's especially true when it comes to pieces like this. You want to have a really high-end watchmaker who understands all of the things about the watch, how to work on them, what the history and the etymology of these watches are. You want to make sure that these are verified as authentic. We have that here at SwissWatchExpo, so we do that to every watch that comes through our inventory. All of these have been through a background check to make sure there's no issues with them. And we want you to understand that just because they don't have paperwork and box, you shouldn't shy away from them. These are gorgeous pieces. The prices that you're paying for these watches are extraordinary. For example, these watches, depending on which one you get, were anywhere from between $28,000 and $32,000 for the Audemars, and even higher for the Breguet egg. So when you look at our watches online, if you have any questions, give us a call, reach out to us. Obviously, sign up below, ring the bell, let us know that you exist, and tell SwissWatchExpo what you think of the watches and what you would like to own in your collection, or what you may have in your collection. Also, let us know what you'd like to see in our collection, because we're looking for new and extraordinary pieces all the time, and these are definitely extraordinary. SwissWatchExpo, find us, give us a call.